Let's just be honest for a moment, shall we? It feels easier in the moment to just brush things under the rug and act like they have never happened. That's where you don't want to fight. You don't want to feel the pain. You just want your normal life back. Well, beautiful, the truth is you can't heal what you won't face. Hey, beautiful. Are you done with the pain, devastation, and overwhelm that marital betrayal has thrown at you? And you need a real roadmap to recovery. And you also desire to heal God's way. Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Lisa, a betrayal, trauma, and infidelity recovery specialist who went from being crushed and humiliated by my own husband's affair to a global sought-after recovery specialist, helping Christian women and couples just like you heal and recover from the devastation of marital betrayal, all while doing it God's way. Are you ready to dive in? I know I am. So, grab your favorite latte, maybe a glass of wine, snuggle up with your favorite blanket on the couch, and let's focus on you right now. Let's do this, beautiful. Welcome back to the Beauty Beyond Betrayal podcast. I am so glad you decided to join me again. I'm your host, Lisa Limehouse, and this is where we tackle hardcore truths. We don't walk on eggshells here, and we certainly don't give you fluff, do we? No, we actually bring you the truth, because it is the truth that sets us free, right? And today we're tackling the all too common temptation to just, quote, move on after betrayal. I hear it time and time again from either the betrayed spouse or the unfaithful. Can't we just move on? Why do we need to still talk about this? Why can't we just get over it? You know, maybe your spouse is pressuring you right now to put it behind you. Or maybe you are even telling yourself, if I just don't think about it, maybe it'll stop hurting. But beautiful, here's the hardcore truth. Trying to move on without healing doesn't lead to peace. It leads to destruction for you, for your husband, and for your marriage. So today I'm uncovering the 5 hidden dangers of rug sweeping betrayal and what to do instead to invite true lasting healing. And of course, we're doing it God's way. And if this hits home, I'll be sharing how you and your husband can take the most powerful step together through my marriage redesign program. But don't wait, because spaces are limited, and once they fill, the doors are closed for a time. So, before I get to that information, let's dive into today's episode. So, what is this rug sweeping, Lisa, that you're talking about? Well, that's where we've been faced with betrayal. We've had D-Day. We know that our spouse is either struggling with sexual addiction. He's been viewing pornography for months or even years. Maybe he's been on dating sites, even prostitution. It can get very dark out there. It really can. Or maybe your husband has had an affair, or maybe multiple affairs. It is betrayal nonetheless, whether it's emotional, physical, pornography, sexual addiction. All of it is infidelity, and it is extremely destructive to you, to him, to your family, to your marriage, and for your legacy. It really, really is. And so many times we are faced with this thought of, if I just don't think about it, maybe it'll go away. Maybe the pain will subside over time. If you're the unfaithful, you think to yourself, why can't she just get over it? I'm not watching porn anymore. I'm in a recovery program. Or maybe you've stopped the affair and you're like, why can't we just pick up the pieces and move on? All of these things run through our brains, don't they? That's where we want to just sweep it aside, sweep it under the rug, and move on. But here's the truth about rug sweeping. When we sweep it under the rug, it builds over time. It's like dirt and dust that keeps building over and over underneath that rug. And time again, both of you are tripping over it. It becomes a mound that you just fall over daily. One of you gets angry with the other because you feel like it's their fault you're tripping over it, or you feel like they pushed you over it. Either way, it's been swept under the rug, and you can sweep it under there, but you're going to trip on it the rest of your marriage, and it's going to destroy your marriage. What do you do instead of rug sweeping? Well, I'll tell you. You need to process through it so that you can put it to rest once and for all. That means you don't just move on from it and sweep it under the rug. Let's be honest. Rug sweeping is very dangerous. It feels easier in the moment to brush things under the rug. I get it. You don't want to fight anymore. You don't want to feel the pain. You just want your, quote, normal life back. But the truth is this, beautiful. Life doesn't go back to the normal after betrayal. There's a new normal that has to be established. And here's what you need to know. You can't heal what you don't face. And skipping the healing process is like building a home on a cracked foundation. It's also kind of like painting over mold and calling that wall restored. It doesn't work. It can't work. It might look okay for a while, but one day it all will collapse under the weight of everything left unspoken, unprocessed, and unresolved. So I want to share with you today the top 5 crises that happen when you try to just sweep it under the rug, or what we say, just move on after betrayal. These are real and they are crises. You need to know what they are because some of you might be actually living in them right now, and we need to expose them with the truth so that you can face them, you can process, and you can start to heal and recover. So the number 1 top crisis is emotional suppression turns into emotional numbness. You see, when you refuse to deal with the hurt, you start to lose access to all of your emotions, not just the painful ones, but you stop to feel things like joy, intimacy, and even love. That's why I hear many women tell me, I don't feel like I love him anymore. I don't feel any joy. There's nothing intimate within me anymore. I'm emotionally disconnected. I'm numb. This is where you become disconnected from yourself and from your spouse. And this is dangerous because you become emotionless. You stop being able to emote with anyone, including yourself. I know the danger of this fully well. When I was the betrayer, back when I was 25, and during that time period, the consequences of my own sin caught up with me. And I had some very, very strong consequences hit me that were detrimental. They really were. And I remember becoming emotionally numb because I chose not to deal with the betrayal that I had caused. I chose not to actually do the hardcore work of recovery myself as an unfaithful. And because of that, I shut down emotionally. And for 5 long years, I didn't shed a tear. I felt numb. I didn't smile, very seldom would laugh. It was like I had to kind of work it up within myself. It was kind of like I walked around just like a robot, just getting through life. And people would say that my face was void of any kind of emotion. It was like The Walking Dead. And that's what it can be like when we become emotionally numb. When our emotional suppression, because we're choosing not to deal with the emotions, we're choosing not to process them as an individual or a couple through a healing program, and we're choosing to just stuff it or just move on from it, rug sweep it, so to speak, it causes us to turn emotionally numb. And this is dangerous. Crisis number 2. unhealed trauma shows up in other areas. Beautiful, betrayal trauma just doesn't disappear, especially over time. I hear women say, well, maybe over time it'll get better. No, it doesn't. I tried that when I was betrayed. I thought I'll just work a lot and maybe over time things will get better. However, the betrayal trauma didn't disappear. It actually morphed into anxiety, depression, triggers, health issues, and it can even morph into addictions. For me, I became a workaholic. I worked and worked and worked to stay ahead of the trauma of the betrayal. I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to face it. I wanted to shove it under the rug. But here's truth. What you try to bury will eventually surface in destructive ways. And for me, it did become destructive. I worked myself into a frenzy. I didn't choose my healing at first, and I ended up in a 4-day hospital stay in a cardiac unit in the hospital. That was because I chose not to take care of myself. And then I ended up on 8 weeks of bed rest. That was a wake-up call for me. And that's when I chose to dive into my healing journey. That rock bottom saved me. It really, really did. That's where God started to break through. So trying to not deal with your trauma, in other words, leaving it unhealed, it will show up in other areas, beautiful. So it's better to face it head on, choose a recovery program so you can start to heal. Crisis number 3. The unfaithful spouse never truly changes. You see, without a healing process that includes accountability, taking full responsibility, real repentance and transformation, true remorse, empathy, well, the unfaithful partner often repeats old patterns, emotionally checking out or even re-offending. When they don't do the hardcore work of recovery, they will never address what caused them to cross their moral boundaries in the first place. They will never come to the true rooted why of the things that caused them to move into something so destructive. The sin of pornography, sexual addiction, infidelity, emotional affairs, betrayal. They need to face it just like we do. They won't ever truly change and heal unless they truly face it. Crisis number 4. Resentment builds under the surface. Remember I talked about that mound of sand, that mound of dirt of betrayal that's underneath that rug? Well, actually, when you start to trip over that thing time and time again, day after day, you build resentment because of what's underneath there. You resent your spouse because you are faced with it every day, and now you're not able to heal from it. Even if you say you've forgiven him, if healing hasn't taken place, resentment festers. It poisons your communication, your intimacy, and your long-term connection. You are never able to spiritually, emotionally, and physically connect in the way that God intends you to. Even after betrayal, God has a purpose for your marriage. Yes, beautiful. Even after betrayal, it's not the end of the story. So when we don't face it, when we choose to shove it under the rug, the poison will grow. It will multiply, and it will infect everything inside of your relationship. Crisis number 5 is your marriage becomes a shell of what God intended. You see, instead of rebuilding something stronger, something more beautiful, something more vibrant, and something worthy of a couple who has chosen God's way, well, you're left just coexisting. You're left like 2 ships that are passing in the night. Roommates. Sometimes we even call it roommates with some benefits. It's not even with real benefits, because if you're in a relationship that's emotionless, that hasn't healed from betrayal, you're just going to go through the motions. You're just going to act certain ways, but there will never be deep-rooted connection. You may be married in name, but emotionally divorced in spirit. So your marriage is just a shell of what God intended. And I have many, many couples come to me and say, Lisa, how can God still have a purpose for us after betrayal? Well, beautiful, I will say this. Your marriage after betrayal is a beautiful depiction of Christ and the church after his betrayal. You see, Christ was betrayed by those he loved. We sinned against him. We betrayed him at the deepest level. Yet he chose to reconcile with us. And the relationship on the other side of his death is more beautiful than it was on the opposite side. The same happens for a marriage that has been faced with betrayal. The marriage before becomes a distant picture of what God really wants for you. Because after betrayal, you have the opportunity to actually mirror Christ and the church, to actually exemplify what he desires in a true marital relationship, one that is biblically founded on Christ. And yes, even after betrayal, I know that sounds really far-fetched, but when you think about it in the scope of things, betrayal can actually lead you to something more beautiful on the other side. So what is the healthy, God-honoring way to handle betrayal? Well, healing begins when we stop pretending and we start partnering with God for restoration. We do the hardcore work. We get into a marital program. We work with those who are trauma-informed, who understand sexual addiction and infidelity, who specialize in it. And we do it with those who do it God's way, who follow the model of Christ. Christ healed the entire person, mind, body, and spirit. He transformed the mind. He released trauma from the body. He healed the body, and he healed the spirit. He healed the person. And that's what we do inside of my Marriage Redesigned program. So I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. But here's what real God-honoring healing looks like. First, you create a safe space to talk about the betrayal. You don't just shove it under the rug. You have to address it. You really sit down, you talk about it. You don't blame shift. You don't minimize without defending yourself. You step into true responsibility, accountability for all of it. You both speak about the betrayal, and we do it in a safe setting. There must be safety for both of you. Yes, you heard me right, for both of you. When there's a safe environment to talk about the betrayal, real healing transpires. Also, both spouses must be willing to do their own individual healing work. You see, healing doesn't just happen through proximity. It happens through intentionality. That's why it's important for you as the betrayed and you as the unfaithful to do your own individualized healing work. And inside of my Marriage Redesign program, we do that with you. I work with the betrayed, with the unfaithful, and then I work with you as a married couple. We literally go back and forth week after week. 1 week I meet with you individually. 1 week I meet with you as a couple. We address the couple and we address you individually. As the unfaithful, you have a lot to heal from. As the betrayed, you have a lot to heal from. And so does your relationship. And you need new tools as you build a brand new marriage. And you get all of that inside of the Marriage Redesigned program. Another way you can handle the betrayal in a God-honoring way is to seek wise faith-based guidance. Again, from someone trained in betrayal trauma, infidelity specialist, and biblical restoration. This is something vital if you're going to do it in the right way. Another is to allow God to do the deep work of rebuilding. he needs to rebuild heart by heart and layer by layer. And sometimes that's messy. Sometimes it hurts. It can be really difficult. And that's why it's great when you have someone that can lead and guide you through that. And the last one is to commit to the process. Listen, it's not about perfection. It's about working through the process and progressing through it. God is not interested in fake peace, beautiful. He wants real restoration. Isaiah 61:3 promises beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, and healing for the brokenhearted. But it does require surrender, humility, and a willingness to do the work. So I've got a question. Are you finally ready to rebuild the right way? Have you tried marital counseling? Have you tried other things? Have you tried to just sweep it under the rug and you're like, nothing is working? Well, beautiful, if that's you, now's your time to join the Marriage Redesigned program. If you and your husband are ready to stop rug sweeping and finally heal the right way, I want to personally invite you into my high-touch, faith-based couples coaching program. Inside, you'll walk through 12 transformational marriage sessions, individualized trauma-informed coaching, individualized coaching for the unfaithful, a biblical, proven framework to rebuild connection, trust, and intimacy. You'll learn about healthy boundaries. You'll learn about safety. You'll learn about how to restore your intimacy emotionally, spiritually, physically. You will learn about our 2-day intensive where my husband and I work one-on-one with you for 2 straight days to help you finally put into action everything that you've been learning in this program with actionable steps, with dates to accomplish them, so that when you leave that intensive, you have your roadmap in place that you start walking out the very next day. Tools, tips, strategies to build a brand new, lasting, beautiful, vibrant, bold relationship on the other side of betrayal. Now, here's the urgency, okay? Really, the urgency is this. Spaces are limited. I mean, I can only do so many of these at the same time, right? We only accept a few couples per round. And once the doors close, they stay closed for a season. So it's important for you to go below in the show notes right now, grab your consult with me. Do it now before they're gone, because I only allow so many per season. And I've opened up this season. Once they're gone, they're gone. Listen, beautiful. God doesn't want you to fake healing. He wants you to experience it fully, deeply, and completely. Don't just settle for surface level marriage. Don't live with suppressed pain. Stop risking your future by avoiding the very process that God wants to use to heal you. You're not alone. You're not too broken, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. Let's get you started on a marriage that can be redesigned, of one that is of beauty and of grace. And we do it God's way. With that said, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Beauty Beyond Betrayal. With grace, grit, and the God who restores all things. Beautiful, I'm cheering you on. Thanks for stopping by and spending a little time with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's show and you found hope, healing, and encouragement. Please remember to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. You can even screenshot this episode. You can share it out on Facebook and IG stories. This is how we get the message of hope and healing out to all women and couples who are in need of restoration after betrayal. And if you're ready to move out of that devastation and take the next step in your healing journey, well, make sure to reach out. Schedule your coaching session today. Until next time, love God, live your life passionately, and always choose joy in the midst of any circumstance that you may face. Cheers to you, beautiful.